As far as hiring of freshers is concerned, I would certainly say that freshers are back, but there's a catch. Welcome, friends, to this new video of Sapphire Talks English. Now, imagine that you are a fresh graduate in India in 2026. You have spent 3 or 4 years getting your degree. You have attended placement classes, polished your resume, and learned to say, I'm a team player without actually knowing what that means, right? And finally, you start looking for a job. Now, here comes some good news. According to the latest TeamLease EdTech report, 75% of employers are planning to hire freshers in the second half of 2026. That sounds fantastic, right? In fact, hiring intent has increased from 73% in the first half of the year to 75% in the second half. So, should freshers start celebrating? I would say, wait, not so fast. Because there's a rather interesting catch hidden inside these numbers. While overall fresher hiring intent is certainly rising, around one third of industries are actually cutting back on fresher hiring. And some of the sectors which were traditionally hiring freshers, like IT, consulting, telecom, media, entertainment, and education, are actually slowing down. So we have a very interesting situation. India wants more freshers, but some of India's traditionally fresher hiring industries want fewer freshers. So now that sounds interesting, but it is also contradictory. So what exactly is happening here? That's what we are going to unpack in this video. Let's first understand where these new opportunities are coming from. Because if IT is slowing down, somebody has to take over the fresher hiring championship, right? And according to the latest data, there are three sectors which are standing out. First is retail, second is e-commerce and technology startups, and the third is manufacturing. Now, this is important because it tells us something bigger about the Indian economy on the whole. For years, when we discussed graduate employment in India, our mental equation was pretty simple. Engineering college equals to IT company. And if you were a fresh engineering graduate, there was a decent chance that you would eventually end up in an IT services company. But this model is changing. India's employment engine is now becoming more diversified. Retail is expanding, e commerce is expanding, manufacturing is becoming increasingly more relevant, and technology startups are creating demand for people with very specific skill sets. Think about manufacturing. India is increasingly becoming part of the global supply chains. Electronics, automobiles, semiconductors, engineering products, and logistics. All of these sectors require people, and importantly, they require people at the entry level as well. Then look at e commerce. Someone has to manage the inventory, right? Someone has to handle logistics, someone has to analyze customer data, someone has to manage digital advertising. Someone has to make sure your online order doesn't disappear somewhere between the warehouse and your front door. So, fresher hiring opportunities are not disappearing, they are moving, and that distinction is extremely important. Now, let us come to the elephant in the room, that is the information technology sector. And this is where things are really getting interesting. According to Foundit's July 2026 data, overall technology hiring demand has grown by around 10% year on year. So you may say, great, technology companies are back to hiring more people. But there's a twist here. The share of freshers in IT hiring has in fact fallen from 32% to 24%. Read that again. Technology hiring is growing, but the proportion of freshers being hired is falling. The question is why? Because the technology industry is now going through a major transformation. And the biggest word here is AI, that is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is changing the economics of entry level work. Earlier, a company could hire a large number of fresh graduates, train them for a few months, and then put them into relatively standardized tasks. But today, AI can automate or even accelerate many of these basic tasks. So, companies are asking a different question. Instead of saying, can this graduate do coding? They are increasingly asking, can this graduate use AI to solve a real business problem? That's a completely different question, and suddenly a degree by itself doesn't look that impressive. Companies increasingly want skills in areas like AI applications, data analytics, cloud computing, cyber security, automation, semiconductor technology, and they want practical exposure also. Internships, projects, certifications, actual problem solving, is now what has become more important. Basically, IT companies are saying, congratulations for your degree. Now show me what you can actually do. And I think that's probably the biggest change happening in fresher recruitment. Now let's make this very practical. What kinds of jobs are actually emerging for freshers? The team leads report points towards roles such as AI application developer, junior semiconductor design engineer, data center operations associate, programmatic advertising associate, and inventory and dispatch executive. Now look at this list very carefully. It tells us something very important. The fresher job market of 2026 is not just about software development sitting in an IT park. There are opportunities across the entire economy. AI, semiconductors, data centers, advertising technology, warehousing, logistics, retail, manufacturing, and this is actually good news for students because it means you don't necessarily have to fight for the same 500 IT jobs with 5 lakh other engineering graduates. There are some employment ecosystems developing around India's economic transformation, but, and this is a very big but, you need to identify where the growth is happening. Because if you are preparing yourself for yesterday's job market, you might discover that yesterday's jobs are no longer waiting for you. So, what exactly does an employer want from a fresher in 2026? Let's simplify this. Earlier, the formula was something like this: degree plus decent marks is equal to job interview. Today, the formula is increasingly looking as follows: degree plus skill plus internship plus projects plus AI literacy is equal to employability. And there's a subtle but important difference between getting a job and being employable. A degree can get your resume through the door, but skills can get you through the interview. And practical experience can get you through the probation period. And let's be honest, a lot of students are still approaching the job market with a very old strategy. I'll finish my degree first and then I'll learn my skills. But the market is increasingly saying learn the skills while you're doing the degree. Do internships, build projects, use AI tools, understand data, learn how businesses actually work. Don't just collect certificates like Pokemon cards because employees aren't necessarily impressed by 10 certificates sitting on your LinkedIn profile. They want to know, can you solve a problem? And this is increasingly becoming the real currency in any job market. Now let's zoom out for a moment because this isn't just a story about freshers. It is actually a story about India's economic transformation. India is moving towards a more diversified economy. Manufacturing is becoming more important. Digital commerce is expanding. Data centers are growing. AI adoption is accelerating. Startups are creating specialized technology jobs, and global companies are looking at India not just as a market but increasingly as a production, technology, and services hub. This creates employment, but there's a catch. Economic growth doesn't automatically create the same jobs that existed 10 years ago. The economy changes, technology changes, companies change, and therefore skills should change. So we shouldn't look at 75% number and conclude, fantastic, problem solved, freshers are getting jobs. The real story is more nuanced. Yes, fresher hiring intent is high, but the composition of the hiring is changing. The sectors are changing, the skills are changing, and the expectations of employees are also changing. So, in other words, India is not running out of fresher jobs. India is running out of easy fresher jobs, and that is a very important distinction. So, let's put everything together. Point number one: fresher hiring intent has increased to 75%. That's positive. Point number two: but around one third of the industries are slowing down their fresher hiring. So, the recovery is not uniform. Point number three: retail, e commerce, technology startups, and manufacturing are becoming increasingly important in the hiring engines. Point number four: IT continues to grow, but it has become much more selective about freshers. And finally, skills are becoming more important than ever. The old career model was degree, then placement, then training, then job. This model is gone. The emerging model is degree plus skills plus internship plus projects plus AI readiness and then a job. So if you are a student watching this video, don't panic. The message is not that jobs are disappearing. The message is the definition of a job ready fresher is changing. And honestly, that's not necessarily a bad news. Because if you are starting today for the economy of tomorrow, you could actually have a significant advantage over someone who is still preparing for the economy of yesterday. So remember, don't just ask which companies are hiring. Also ask which skills do companies need. Because once you understand that, you stop chasing jobs. You start becoming the person companies are looking for. And that's probably the biggest lesson for the entire fresher hiring story today. That's it for today's video. If you have found this analysis useful, please hit the like button because apparently even YouTube's algorithms need a little encouragement from time to time. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel for more analysis on India's economy, business, taxation, geopolitics, geoeconomics, and the trends that actually affect our everyday life, please do subscribe to this channel. Share this video with a student, a fresher, or anyone who is currently looking for a job. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, goodbye. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Vande Mataram.